This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.
Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the Bullscast with me, George Holloway. Hereford kicked off the new season last Saturday with a stoppage time defeat at Buxton. Keith Hall is alongside me to discuss all of the game's big talking points. We'll look at the errors that led to Buxton's goals, Aaron Skinner's formidable record from the penalty spot, and analyse the controversial red card shown to Preston Bitemo. We'll then look ahead to Hereford's first home game of the season against Marine and discuss what we can expect from Bobby Grant's side before we turn our attention to the visitor Radcliffe next Tuesday. That's all to come in this episode of the Bullscast. Keith, thanks for joining me. An agonising 98th minute defeat to open the season for Hereford. How do you assess the result and performance at Buxton?
Well, extremely difficult. Whether the new manager, Jordan Broadbent, has totally changed the style of play from Buxton, I'm not too sure. I was expecting, as they've played for the last two seasons with the young players, playing pretty much on the deck, quite a rapid, lots of movement. And, possession-based football. And then all of a sudden, Buxton came out with a long ball, huge throw-in from Ben Grist. And it reminded me of Tamworth from a few seasons ago with Tommy Tonks hurling the ball into the penalty area. So it was very, very similar. So whether that was a surprise as well to Aaron Downs, it was certainly a shock to us in and around the media area. And it was very difficult to play against, given that we seemed to have selected a team that was, going to try and take the game to Buxton on the deck as much as possible. Billy Phillips in there. And all of a sudden we had to defend for much of the first half, although Hereford were on top for the first 10 minutes, certainly. We were on the front foot. A couple of opportunities. One header from Corley Cox that went wide, and a shot that probably Luke Spokes would feel if he'd hit it a little more fiercely, it would have gone in, beaten the goalkeeper, who got down to make a save. And we did joke about his name, Logan Stretch, and he did stretch to keep it out.
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say, wouldn't it, that Buxton got a grip on the game midway through the first half?
It was a sort of an adjustment to what they were hurling at Hereford, pretty much. A lot more physical, a lot more competitive than we've been used to, I would say. But first game of the season, they were up for it as much as Hereford were.
Opening goal came on 38 minutes. Sisa Tuntulwana pouncing on a mistake from Theo Richardson. He'd had a chance earlier in the half, Keith, but he wasn't missing this one, was he?
No, I mean Theo would hold his hands up, and credit to him. After the match, he went across to the Hereford supporters on the far side from our commentary position and literally said, yeah, that one was on me. I've made a mistake there. First goal, all important. And it just literally sort of bounced off his body straight to Tuntulwana, who just swept it in from close range. Now, whether anybody else could have got a block in there, also anticipated Theo dropping the ball, but that's not something you normally think of. It wasn't one of those sort of high hanging balls underneath the crossbar or anything. It was literally shot straight at his midriff. And when the free kick was taken by Brockbank, I was just, not worried at all. I thought Richardson would just gather it and get it upfield fairly quickly from there on. But, bounced out, and Hereford found themselves a goal down.
It's safe to say we're not goalkeeping experts, but do you think he got caught in two minds between punching it and catching it?
I doubt it, because it was hit at a height that you'd be comfortable about catching. It just literally came off his body straight to the player. So, 99 times out of 100, if that shot had come in, I'm sure he'd saved it.
Up until the sending off, which we'll talk about in a moment, what did you make of Hereford's response in the second half?
I think Buxton then actually played a little bit more football. So Whether, again, Broadbent was ahead of the game in that respect, but I thought Hereford did well. Did create a few opportunities. It was a game of very few chances, really. You don't tend to find moves of 5 or 6 passes when you're playing on that type of surface. It's really, really hard. I think it's one of the worst 4G surfaces. Somebody told me it's about 7 or 8 years old. Probably does need replacing. You see some 4G or 5G surfaces that the players play on now, and they are much, much better. I mean, you only have to go to the training ground at Solihull Moors where Hereford train, and the surface there, the artificial surface there is so much better than this one. And in particular, I thought Billy Phillips, it was sort of, the ball was bouncing in midfield, and he was desperately trying to get it under control and bring it down to the deck, and he just couldn't do so. He was almost hooking it down at hip height, if that makes any sense at all. And as soon as he did get the ball somewhere near ground level, let's put it that way, somebody was coming straight in, pinching the ball. So, yeah, it was very difficult. Yeah, same for both teams, you will argue. But I don't think it's conducive to good football at all. You're going to go there. It reminded me of why I hate 4G and 3G surfaces so much, because it's such an artificial bounce. There's no give in the surface whatsoever, and it makes for a very poor game of football.
Yeah, artificial surfaces and Hereford, not a good mix at all. Now, Preston Bitemo sending off on 64 minutes. A straight red card for his challenge on Connor Kirby, who suffered a double leg break as a result. The real question, Keith, is it worthy of a red, or was he shown it because of the severity of the injury?
Well, that was the view from us in the press area, because the referee, as he did all game, as you notice as well when he gave Hereford a penalty much later on, very slow to make a decision. And there was, I think, gross overreaction from Buxton players because of the injury. They all seemed to pile in. And it was an age before Preston Bitemo was actually shown a red card. And what we felt was the referee then, during that sort of melee, instead of sorting that out, calming it down, he went at one stage to look at Connor Kirby, and then went back to Preston Bitemo and showed him the red card. I mean, I'll take you back to the Bromsgrove fixture. Joe Doyle-Charles and Lewis Hudson were both injured in that game after a 50-50 challenge. Really heavy block tackle. And as we now know, Lewis Hudson's out for at least 2 months. Now, Doyle-Charles wasn't red carded. Hereford didn't, go over the top about it. In many respects, I just think it was one of those that you want to see a competitor. It wasn't malicious, wasn't over the top, as Aaron Downs was saying later. Obviously, feel for Connor Kirby that you get an injury like that, and I'll apologise to him on commentary, saying he wasn't play acting at all. He was really injured, and I just whether they'll get an appeal going on it, I don't know. Otherwise, it's probably a 3-game ban for violent conduct. Well, that wasn't violent conduct. It wasn't a malicious challenge.
And with Joe Willis injured as well, there's a bit of a hole appearing in that Hereford midfield. There
is. Obviously, we're delighted that we've got Harry Tustin back in that central midfield area. So it won't be as though we were totally decimated for midfield talent. We get back to Edgar Street, and hopefully Billy Phillips and Harry Tustin can drive Hereford forward from central areas.
Hereford did well to keep the Bucks at bay following the sending off, and just after 10 minutes had gone up on the fourth officials board, the Bulls had a chance to equalise from the spot, Keith.
And that was the one really good move from either team in the match. If you look back at the highlights, as long as they go back to when that ball was originally in Hereford's half and moved up. Skinner obviously heavily involved in that, into the area, got a little 1-2 going, and he was tripped, and there's still photography of the player lunging across him. But again, the referee, you can almost count down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and finally pointed to the spot. So, I don't know, it looked a pen straight away from our position. But yet again, the Iceman took it, cool as you like, and just goalkeeper went the wrong way, and Hereford at that stage, as you say, 90th minute, waiting for the board to go up, how many additional minutes there was going to be. In the end, we played 100 minutes, not 90, but it all turned around a few minutes later, didn't it?
So on to the winning goal, as you just mentioned there, Keith. 98 minutes on the clock, and it was Tuntulwana at the double. Hereford had 3 strikers on the pitch at the time. Did they leave themselves short at the back?
Well, they must have done, because Tuntulwana was allowed to run diagonally across the pitch for about 40 or 50 yards. Something that Aaron Downs highlighted after the game is that surely somebody should have got a block in there somewhere just to interrupt his progress, because he just run freely through. Knocked it, I think it was to Voltman in the area, who got a shot in. Richardson did save it. But again, it just literally came straight out to Tuntulwana, who swept it in. But could that have been prevented? Yes, it could, on the halfway line.
It's the old stick or twist question, isn't it? Because if Aaron Downs puts 3 strikers on and Hereford go on to win the match, he is heavily commended. But if they go on to lose, which they did, he's criticised.
He'd be a manager. That's what, you're paid to make decisions, and that's what he was going for. And I think Hereford were looking the better of the two teams because of that penalty. Gave a lot of confidence, you felt, to the players. I think Harrison Venza came on. He actually put the through ball back to Skinner for the penalty. Bit of a powerhouse, and let's see how he progresses in a Hereford shirt up until start of next year. Competition for places up front, always good to see.
It's difficult judging a result on the opening day because we don't have anything to compare it with. But going on your many years of experience, Keith, will we be seeing Buxton at the top end of the table?
Well, it's a totally different style. If they keep that up and they play to that consistently, they're going to trouble teams because it is difficult to deal with. Every single time a throw-in comes in, it's somewhere near the 6-yard box. If anybody gets a touch to it, whether it's your team or the opposition, it can literally go anywhere and get swept in second phase. It obviously does work. That is exactly what Tamworth did when they got promoted. If you've got the players that are able to perform and with that style or under that style, under that direction from the management consistently, then who knows?
Let's take a check on the results from elsewhere in the National League North on game week 1. It finished Telford 1, Brackley 2, Chorley 1, Chester 2, Hebburn 3, Southport 1, King's Lynn 1, Harborough 1, Marine 0, Macclesfield 1, Darlington 1, Worksop 2, Merthyr 2, Hensford 0. Morecambe were held to a 1-1 draw at home to Spennymoor. It finished Oxford City 1, Bedford 0, Radcliffe 0, Spalding United 2, while Scarborough fell to a 1-0 home defeat to South Shields. So what's coming up in game week 2? Well, Darlington travel to Bedford, Brackley host Hebburn, it's Chester versus King's Lynn and Harborough versus Morecambe. Hensford host Scarborough, it's Macclesfield versus Radcliffe, South Shields versus Chorley, while Buxton face Southport away. Spalding United, they host Oxford City, it's Spennymoor versus Merthyr, whilst Worksop welcome Telford to Sandy Lane. It's back-to-back home games now for Hereford, starting with Marine this Saturday, who lost 1-0 to Macclesfield on the opening day of the season. The last meeting between these two sides will live long in the memory of Bourse fans, Keith, none more so for Aaron Skinner's late winner from the spot.
Well, yeah, 92nd minute that was, wasn't it? That after Matt McDonald had equalised the Cormac Daly opener. And we were right under it at that stage, and it was so much of a relief for the whole crowd for Aaron Skinner to dispatch that spot kick. But It was a really good game, and it was a fight back really from Hereford after McDonald's equaliser. They just went for it, and on that occasion got 3 points.
What do you expect to see from Bobby Grant's side?
Much of the same. They have brought some players in, but unlike Buxton that had brought in, I think it was at least 12 new players. I can certainly see 5 new signings that Bobby Grant has made. He's lost Jack Halesworth, who's quite influential, and their best player is still, in my opinion, Finn Sinclair-Smith down the one flank. But he's brought in a couple of strikers, Conor McElhaney and Charlie Jolly. They'll be the players to look out for, I would have thought, up front. But James Potter, a young player who's only 17, he's come through their under-19 development setup, and he's been scoring quite notable goals in the pre-season build-up. So I think it will be, again, an interesting game. You want Hereford to be on the front foot, like to take it to the opposition, but you've always got to be wary of what Marine are all about.
Do you expect to see many changes from Aaron Downs? And if you were the Hereford boss, which ones would you make?
Well, you've got, obviously, Carl Hawkins, to return for his suspension. We didn't see Joseph James, because of a personal issue at the weekend, so hopefully that has been sorted out. We weren't told anything about it, just the fact he was unavailable for the game up at Buxton, so that's another change that can be made. Danny Waldron wasn't quite fit enough for a full 90, so he might be now for this game, because he's had another week ahead of it. He might well partner Cordy Cox up front. And then you've got the new signing Harrison and Windsor. I believe Hereford have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players, if they all play, making their first home debut in the National League North. Obviously, they've played in friendlies, but up to 9 players could make their home debut in a first team game.
You touched on the new signings earlier, in particular Harry Tustin. Really pleased to see him back.
I am. He gives energy. You might have heard the Bullscast, my interview with Aaron Downs last week, and I talked about effervescence, talked about energy, aggression, determination. He's got it in abundance, and the crowd take to him straight away because they know he's going to give you everything he's got every single match.
And Harrison Awanzi, are you excited by his prospect?
I'd just like to see him on a regular basis and get a run of games. Minutes here, minutes there, that's not necessarily going to help him. And obviously Notts County wouldn't have sent him to Hereford if they didn't want it, because he just signed the second year of a pro contract, an extension on that. So they see a player in there. We've got to make use of him as much as we can between now and January. So I'm sure at some stage, whether it's immediate, I'm not so sure, but if he's going to make that impact, as we saw from George Monday, then he's going to have to get a run of games.
Having witnessed the Buxton game and with 2 training sessions between then and the game on Saturday, what do you think Aaron Downs will be? What messages do you think he'll be giving to the players, and what little things do you think he'll be working on in training?
Well, just get back to what I would like you to do. That's Aaron speaking, not me. In other words, get the ball down the flank. Hopefully Liam Roberts can get into a more advanced position. He had to play wing back because of the injury to Lewis Hudson. He had to play full back rather than didn't get forward on too many occasions. But every time he did, you thought, we might create something here. So whether Hereford play a back 3, with Liam Roberts further forward on the left, then you've got Joseph James or Aaron Skinner as on the right hand side trying to get forward. That could be an option for him. We'll have to wait on team selection to get the real inside track. But if they go down that route, I think fans will probably be a lot more entertained than they would have been on at the weekend. It was so disappointing. It happened to be the very first game of the season. If that had been in, say, November or something, you'd have got adjusted to the league to that degree, and you'd know what Buxton are all about. But it was all just a bit of a surprise to everyone, and you're not going to get much footage from a pre-season build-up. So I think that's why that Buxton performance was under par for a variety of reasons. But I think Aaron Downs and Harry Pell will fire them back up. And hopefully we're on that front foot, because that's what people want to see at Edgar Street.
Attention after Marine turns to Radcliffe on Tuesday night. That's a 7:45 kick-off. Another side Hereford faced on their relegation run-in. The Bulls were 3-1 winners back on that day. And it was a particularly feisty contest, Keith, and you'd expect the same again with Radcliffe, wouldn't you?
I would. I mean, I've already called Radcliffe the new Alfreton. I think they've signed 7 players, is it? 5 or 7 players from Alfreton's squad from last year. So we know what they were all about. And if they carry on as fiery and feisty as they were at the back end of last season, Hereford will be in for another bruising encounter, no doubt.
It's the first time in 17 years that Bernard Morley is starting a season without Anthony Johnson, his sidekick beside him. And many in the non-league circuit, Keith, will be interested to see how he navigates his first full season as a solo boss.
Well, he did pretty well, I thought, on his own, if you like. When, his opposite number moved across to Bury, he's done well. He's kept Radcliffe quite competitive. It's a good word for Radcliffe, competitive. And, I'm sure that they're looking to make a little bit of a progression. Maybe they'll be looking to get in the playoffs. It's going to be a very tight campaign, I'm sure.
And final word from you, Keith. I think it's safe to say we'll have a better idea of where Hereford are at after these next 2 games.
Yeah, I would hope so. We usually say 10 games, don't we? You can have a great pre-season build-up and then fall short right at the start. Or you can have a really awful pre-season and yet start flying. It all depends on basically what the performance level can be on a consistent basis. And that's what I'm looking for from Hereford players. Even on Saturday, really, perhaps Jordan Williamson found it a bit tricky on his National League North debut up there at Buxton. I've talked about Billy Phillips desperately trying to get that ball under control. He'll love it a lot better at Edgar Street because there's a lot more give in the surface. I think they've done so well to get that pitch into such a good condition so swiftly after total renovation. And I think that will suit Hereford a lot better. And hopefully we'll then see that lots of movement off the ball and players will respond to crowds' excitement.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bullscast. Don't forget, we're now available on YouTube and Amazon Music, so there's more ways to follow us than ever before. Until the next time, it's bye for now.
This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls.